Hi there! In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make the best 1-hour bread. It's light, it's fluffy, it's tender, it's delicious, and it makes the best sandwich bread. So stick around, we're going to get into it right now. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get 1.5 cups of very warm water. Then you're going to add anywhere from 2 to 4 tablespoons of honey. And this is to feed the yeast. It's not really a flavor enhancer. And if you're not a honey user, you could use cane sugar or maple syrup. Stir your sugar into the water so that it fully dissolves. Then you're going to add 1 tablespoon of fresh yeast. Set the yeast aside and oil your standard size bread pan. Optionally, you can lightly dust it with flour like I have here for a little extra no-stick assurance. I just want to add this note so that your bread comes out successfully the first time. Fresh yeast is so important. If you have yeast that has been sitting in your cabinet for a couple weeks to a couple months, it's not going to turn out the same as if you had fresh yeast that you just purchased, or yeast that you've been keeping fresh in the refrigerator. This is actually a true story. So I made this loaf of bread with some yeast that I had been keeping in my cabinet, and it was probably about 2 months old. It did proof when I put it in the water, but it took a long time for it to proof. For some reason, this did not ring any bells for me. I just continued on with the recipe. Well, the bread turned out kind of low rising and very dense, kind of like a squashed football. Then my husband made this exact same recipe. He used yeast that he purchased from the grocery store that day, so it was super fresh. And the bread just rose so beautiful, so tall, so quick, and the bread was just perfect density. And so there it was. I saw side by side what a difference old yeast to fresh yeast really makes. So if you got that old yeast and you want your bread to turn out the best the first time you make it, I strongly recommend go to the grocery store and get yourself some really fresh yeast. Next, we're going to get our dry ingredients together. You are going to need a mixer, but if you don't have one, that's okay. You can do this by hand. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. However, this part is still the same. In a large bowl, put in 4 cups of flour. I like to use organic flour. Then add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I like to use sea salt. Give it a little mix to incorporate it. Then we're going to go over to the mixer here. I'm going to put my dough hook on. I'm now also going to check on my yeast. Because I'm using a very fresh yeast, it's already proofing in just a matter of minutes. See how it's nice and foamy and bubbly? That means the yeast is active. Also, the warm water and the honey helped encourage it to activate faster. And at first, I'm just going to get this kind of going, so I'll put it on a low speed, and I'm going to begin adding my water. Once the water is completely added to the flour, I'm going to increase the speed to get this going. We're going to allow the machine to knead this dough for 10 minutes. You'll know your dough is done when it is baby bottom smooth like this, and it's no longer sticking to the sides of the glass bowl. Also, when you push your finger in it, the dough bounces back. This dough is done. For those of you who need to knead by hand because you don't have a mixer, go ahead and knead it by folding it over on itself and driving your palms into the dough for about 10 minutes until you get that baby bum smoothness. Once you're done kneading it, whether it be in the mixer or by hand, we're going to add it to the bread pan for it to rise. Now this is a single rise bread recipe, and then just to get it kind of into a loaf shape, I'm just going to roll it here out a little bit. Just stretch it out a little. I'm gently pressing and pulling and rolling all at the same time. Place the loaf in the bread pan, and now it's time for it to rise for 25 minutes. I have a double oven, so I use the top one as my proofing oven, and if you don't have this option, place a towel over the dough and put it someplace snuggy warm. Dough rises most efficiently between 80 and 99 degrees. Meanwhile, preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Look at how beautiful that rose. Now if your dough didn't rise enough in that 25 minutes, allow it more time. I attribute this tall and fast rise to fresh yeast and a snuggy warm place for it to rise. Now, bake at 400 degrees for 21 minutes. It's done! Look at that beautiful bread. Can you believe this is 1-hour bread? Now don't go away because I'm going to cut it open and show you what the inside looks like. I'm going to pop it out. Perfect. Ah! and put it on the rack. If you want to use this as a sandwich bread, let it cool entirely before slicing. But if this is for dinner tonight, you can dive in just a matter of minutes. Cool enough so you don't actually burn yourself. Look at that. Perfect 1 hour bread. I do a variety of video subjects here on my channel, Clean Food Living. From today's video of 1 hour bread to how to grow your own wheatgrass at home, a little farm and garden, a little fermenting, herbal teas, detox teas, wild edibles, like how to pick wild rose hips and turn them into tea. So if any of that sounds good to you, hit that button right up here to be a part of my channel, Clean Food Living. You can also check out my other videos right here, and until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.